Hey, if this is the year that you want to take your fantasy football plan to the next level and get yourself a fantasy football championship, you got to check out the Ultimate Draft Kit. It is the best value in fantasy football at only $29. We pour our lives into this, hundreds of video profiles, Matt Harmon's reception perception, all of our stats, all of our rankings, blurbs on every player. Check it out. Build a foundation to win the championship at ultimatedraftkit.com.
This is Melvin Gordon from the Los Angeles Chargers, and you listening to the Fantasy Footballers podcast.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers podcast, coming to you from Draft.com studios with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Welcome in. Hey. Oh. Hey.
Yeah.
Saturday, July 21st. The Fantasy Footballers podcast once again climbing into your ears
Step by step.
via whatever device you may be listening on, watching on. Welcome in. Excited for this show. Show 570 in our storied history.
Check out the back catalog.
I highly recommend the 2015 Week 3 waiver show.
Oh my
man.
goodness.
Oh, the insights that you'll receive now. Bountiful.
Those were some waivers.
Welcome in. We have AFC West on the show today. Our divisional breakdowns. It's time, gentlemen.
Yes.
Less than 50 days
People ask, how do you
until
know
the NFL season.
when is it for the general public? It's fantasy football time and, training camp, all these, a lot of different answers. For me, when the divisional series starts on the Fantasy Footballers, that's when my internals,
That's when my organs shift around.
my spleen,
Oh,
my pancreas.
don't get me started on my spleen.
My left lung, my right lung is still trailing behind.
They're just moving around.
We know, me and my body parts, we know that fantasy football is very close.
Just you. Keep it to yourself from now on. We have Ball Bonanza on the show today, and we have an exclusive interview with Los Angeles Chargers running back Melvin Gordon. Maybe you've heard of him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have.
Maybe you've seen him. He is a mountain of a man.
He sure is.
And so we have video of that too, so you can see that on YouTube. That'll be at the end of the show today after we preview his division,
Yeah.
the AFC West.
Imagine just how that works out.
Yeah, amazing coincidence that is. So follow us on Twitter at the FF Ballers. Subscribe on YouTube. Get ready for the season. Subscribe over there. Click the bell so you know when we're doing a random live stream or something exciting. This week, mere days away, we'll be in Philly and New York. You can get tickets at ballerslive.com. Come out and see us. There are a few tickets remaining for both shows, so you can get those at ballerslive.com. And a reminder, we're giving away a signed Keenan Allen, signed Stephon Diggs, signed DeAndre Hopkins memorabilia over at footclangiveaway.com. That's just a giveaway for our listeners, and the entry on that ends on July 31st. So head over there to footclangiveaway.com and get in on some of that signed action.
So people, August 1st, I don't want to be hearing, what happened to the giveaway?
Yeah.
You've had plenty of time. Get in there.
Yeah.
Get in there. Win
Absolutely.
Win some stuffs.
Because the show is so jam-packed and because we have the whole divisional breakdown and the interview with Melvin Gordon and Ball Bonanza, we're going to jump right in with a lot of different questions. Not a quick question, a bunch of different questions. So let's do that.
Let's get divisional.
All right, before we get into the team breakdowns, I want to remind you what happened in the AFC West last year. The Kansas City Chiefs won the division at 10-6. The Chargers almost slid into the playoffs. The Bills somehow beat them out.
away.
Oh, right. 9-7.
Very close.
Is that a phrase?
I don't think it's a phrase.
It's a Mike Wright phrase.
Yeah, it is now.
Butthair.com. Yeah. That's
Do not recommend. Do not go.
The fact is, Jason looks like he may be checking it out. Just the curiosity factor.
We're safe.
We're safe. Okay, because
is it registered? Can Mike grab it?
No, it is purchased, but it's just nothing.
What are you doing, wasting that prime internet real estate?
The Oakland Raiders were 6-10, disappointing after the year they had previously, and the Denver Broncos were 5-11. So we're going to kick it off.
Chiefs.
Oh goodness, the Chiefs, 10-6. Rarely do you see such turnover at such an important position.
Yeah,
as we've seen this last offseason in the NFL. We had this happen, and obviously we'll get to Minnesota when we get over to the NFC North. But Patrick Mahomes, the new quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs, Kareem Hunt burst on the scene last year after the Spencer Ware injury. So there is the storyline of Spencer Ware's return. Tyreek Hill, the breakout season. Sammy Watkins picked up for a cool $48 million. And then Travis Kelce was a stalwart yet again.
He's Zeus.
He is.
He does what he does.
There was a time, Mike, if you remember, when he was supposed to be Zeus and wasn't Zeus, and now he's just
because he didn't score touchdowns. That was what the knock was on him. Was he's great. He's going to get targets, receptions, yards, but he's not really a touchdown guy. I remember going back and looking at all the red zone opportunities, saying no, they use him there. He just it didn't work out. I think they will continue to use him at near the red zone, even with Sammy Watkins.
I was going to say that the question for Travis Kelce is Sammy Watkins. I highlighted on the risk-reward show Tyreek Hill of how all of his touchdowns this past season were all very, very long plays. He had no red zone touchdowns. He was very, very limited when it came to actual red zone targets. Meanwhile, with granted a different team, Sammy Watkins was a red zone nightmare for opposing defenses, opposing 10-zone nightmare. So will that affect what people are hoping for? We're assuming Travis Kelce is a top 3 tight end. What happens if those touchdowns start to funnel over to Mr. Sammy Watkins, who they wanted him there? They gave him a contract that says you are a part of the game plan. You're not just a wide receiver too.
I don't think it's fair to do what we do in fantasy and say, okay, Alex Smith, he's now out of there and he's in Washington and he prefers his tight end and he's going to throw to the tight end because he always does with Vernon Davis, Travis Kelce. Look, if Alex Smith moving teams means that he is more prone to throw to the tight end, we at least have to raise the possibility that we just don't know what Mahomes is prone to. Now, Kelce, fortunately, we're not talking about a check-down tight end like Kyle Rudolph. We're talking about a field-stretching, speed mismatch, seam-running tight end like Travis Kelce. So I don't think that even if Patrick Mahomes is more prone to throwing the ball deep because he has these weapons and because he has the arm strength to do it, I don't think that hurts Travis Kelce, but we still have the unknown factor of what is the rapport like between Mahomes and Kelce.
Right.
When third down comes around, does he look to Kelce the way that Smith does? Or does he look to Sammy Watkins? Or Kareem Hunt out of the backfield? We don't know it because we haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, Mahomes coming in is clearly the biggest story. It changes everything for this team. It's why I don't like drafting Tyreek Hill or even Zeus for the reasons you just laid out there at their average draft position. The one guy that
You're paying full price for those
exactly.
players.
You're paying for what they have done the last 2 years, which makes sense. They've done it. But with the change at quarterback, I want the cheap option. I want Sammy Watkins near the 7th round as opposed to Tyreek Hill near the 3rd round when they're almost back-to-back in my own rankings. So
you're paying for the 9th-ranked rushing offense and the 7th-ranked passing offense from last year.
Right. And
those draft values.
And there's going to be a huge change. There can be the narrative that their defense is not what it was. They lost some pieces on defense. The schedule for the whole conference is pretty good. So what do we make of Patrick Mahomes? Since he's going to be the game changer for the Chiefs, what do we think of him for fantasy? I know, Andy, in the offseason, you were hyped. You were high on Mahomes. How do you feel about him this season in 2018?
Yeah, I think that is from a fantasy perspective, I'm conservative. I'm putting him in that 15 range with upside. But from an NFL perspective, I think he'll be able to handle what he needs to handle under Andy Reid. I think he's had the time. They saw what they needed to see. to let Alex Smith go after a 10-6 season. So I think NFL impact is there for Patrick Mahomes. I'm a big Pat Mahomes fan. I traded in Dynasty for Pat Mahomes. But I don't expect to get a top 10 season out of Mahomes this season because I think that the up and down nature, the fact that Reed can depend on Kareem Hunt to carry the load when the time arises, it will come down to, look, last year they weren't a good defense. They were 25th against the rush, 29th against the pass in terms of yards given up per game. So if that continues and Pat Mahomes has to sling the ball around the field, you're probably going to be happy with him. But I have seen, your point is great because he's the storyline. And then when we talk about him or we talk about other quarterbacks, I see comments from people that are, oh, my gosh, you're crazy. Pat Mahomes is way better than that player. Or, oh, my gosh, you're crazy. Pat Mahomes is much worse than that player. Nobody knows really where to place him, but he's exciting.
He is exciting because of his arm strength. And one thing that's overlooked, I think because of his arm strength, is his rushing ability. That's what gives me a little bit more confidence for those people that are on the Mahomes side. I'm the lowest of the three of us. I've still got him in the top 20. I've got him at 19. But he had 22 rushing touchdowns in college, so he can definitely get out and move. He's an athletic.
It's a strong point.
He's an athletic guy, so his baseline. It's very hard to have a quarterback that can have a good baseline of rushing yards and rushing touchdowns finish at quarterback 25 or worse. I mean,
Deshaun Kaiser last year,
was
not necessarily how you define a running quarterback by any means, but still scored 5 times on the ground and had 400-plus rushing yards, and
when he played, he was a fantasy
very,
asset.
very relevant. So it's a very good point.
Now, what about the other big subtraction for the Kansas City Chiefs? Matt Nagy, he was their offensive coordinator. Now, he wasn't calling plays at the beginning of the season, but they did hit a point, and especially for Kareem Hunt, Matt Nagy's second game in, that's when things turned around. That's when the Kareem Hunt fantasy dry spell went away. Do you have any concerns for this offense losing an offensive mind like Nagy?
Maybe, but not a lot. And we talked about this when we were at the NFFC.
Right.
We had a Q&A, and this came up, and I said, look, you've got the mustache in the back of your mind.
Mm-hmm.
That's Andy Reid. He is the every
That's
once in a
what's
while.
been tickling.
That's what's been tickling.
The mustache.
The
This
walrus himself.
My back head mustache.
This had nothing to do with all your organs moving around. All you felt was the mustache in the back of your mind getting you ready for the season, Mike. Because it starts to tingle. That caterpillar starts moving inside, and then you know the NFL season is here.
Yeah, lots brought up about how Matt Nagy, after that first game he took over, he got the carries back to Kareem Hunt. But it's like, okay, well, in the beginning of the year.
Such a small sample.
It's such a small sample. And in the beginning of the year, it was Andy Reid who was giving Kareem Hunt tons of work. So, I trust Andy Reid. He's the offensive mind there. He's the one that continues to build up great offensive coordinators. So, I think these are going to be fantasy assets in general. I don't want to spend too much for Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce.
Last question before we move on to the Los Angeles Chargers. Is there a name outside of the mainline names, a surprising name you think that could emerge into relevance from the Chiefs?
No.
Ooh. Yeah, it's struggling. If you take a look at the depth charts, I mean, it was heading into the offseason, okay, they're losing pieces. They lost Albert Wilson. Could this be Chris Conley's time to step up? Sammy Watkins dropped a fat stack of bills on him and said, nah, I'm coming in here. So there's no one I see, and I'm projecting Kareem Hunt to have the absolute dominant line share of this backfield. Even as the Kareem Hunt truther on the show, I readily admit he will lose work heading into next year compared to this previous season, whether that is Ware or Damian or Kerwin Williams, one of them taking work. I still firmly believe, though, that Kareem Hunt is the guy. He's the goal line back. He is the best pass catcher on the team despite the success that Spencer Ware has had, and they have a pretty solid offensive line. They're currently heading into the season. Pro Football Focus has them ranked as 18th. So,
Jason?
I'm confident in Hunt.
Last question for you.
Okay.
Unless you had a name.
Spencer Ware is the only guy
that was my question for you. Was actually going to be percentage chance that Spencer Ware started in a fantasy lineup in 2018.
I would say 50% because
Wow.
50?
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I think
thought it
it's-
was going to be like 15%.
It's about, I'm going to go 8%.
Okay.
Spencer Ware was going to be part of their plans, and it's all about his health. I say 50% because I think if he's healthy, if he's actually back for camp for week 1, then there will be times over the course of the year, whether it's due to injury or due to matchup, where he's involved enough and can be at least a DFS play.
Okay, let's move on.
Chargers.
Oh, let's talk about the Chargers. One of my
Yeah, absolutely.
favorite Super Bowl contenders for the upcoming season. Ended the year on a run. One of the better scoring teams in football. Last year, the number 1 passing yards per game offense in the NFL.
Wow.
We saw
Really?
their defense step up and be the 3rd best against the pass in terms of yards given up per game. The impact that Joey Bosa has had on that offense or on that defense cannot be denied. So Phillip Rivers, Melvin Gordon and company, Keenan Allen and company head into 2018 with the big storyline that happened this offseason is the devastating injury to Hunter Henry. We, as fantasy owners, we're looking forward to seeing him step out of the Antonio Gates shadow, which has grown larger over the years. In a very literal sense.
It stayed in place and it doesn't move around
And
very
unfortunately,
quickly anymore.
Look, we've talked through it, but look, Melvin Gordon said this when he was talking at the NFC. He still expects this team to bring Antonio Gates back. Gates is not expected to go elsewhere. It's retirement or the Chargers. But I love this team. I tweeted this morning that if I had to predict a Super Bowl matchup today, July 20th, it was Chargers-Eagles.
How dare you disrespect the Giants?
What? Did you just say?
We'll have hot takes later.
That's not hot. That's like,
Dude.
have you ever been to Venus?
That's hot snakes. Right there.
That's not hot takes. That's hot snakes.
Those are fumes, hot fumes.
Anyways, sorry, I derailed us.
Hold on. No, there's
you
no
don't
way.
That's not a derail.
There's
That's
no way this is true.
So I will say this. It was I was.
He's been burned with this Giants thing before.
I absolutely have. I believe that the Giants are a legitimately really good team this year. Thank you. I'll be here all day.
Did you know that they picked second in the NFL draft?
I did. I know that they lost Odell Beckham and Brandon Marshall and even Sterling Shepard and had
Did
no
you go with
offensive-
Brandon Marshall as the second key loss for that team?
I think that they're going to be a much better team this year, and time will tell. Look,
Yes,
when
yes.
we,
No,
when
no,
you
I-
two,
that's fine.
They'll be picking 16th.
when you two
Are
said that
they
the
a
Saints were a Super Bowl contender last year, you got a lot of grief.
They
and
did not
were.
pick second.
Certainly, but they were a bad team the year
Man,
prior.
I hope you're right. I like it.
Oh,
I'm not calling them for the Super Bowl, but I think they're a contender this year.
Number 3 draft accuracy.
he's not calling for it.
No,
but
no, I'm
But
not-
if they make it,
he wants credit.
I'm not saying that they're going to be my odds-on favorite,
all right.
but they are a contender. They're in that group.
All right, why isn't Phillip Rivers being drafted as a top 10 quarterback?
I have no idea.
Number 1 passing offense, Keenan Allen, dynamic. Mike Williams, second season. Travis Benjamin and Tyrell Williams, deep threats. You know, I just don't understand it.
The knock on Phillip Rivers has always been that while he finishes the season, as a quarterback one, oftentimes a back-end quarterback one, he's never been one of those win you games. He's just consistent, throws for a lot of yards over the course of the season, similar to what happened to Drew Brees last year, right? He finishes quarterback 12, but if you played him week in, week out, he wasn't winning you games. But that wasn't the case last year with Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers was winning people games last year, and I completely agree with you guys.
8 of the last
He's a
10
great
years.
pick this year, especially.
8 of 10 years in the top 12.
Right.
You
That's
get
what
him,
I'm saying.
If you
He's
get
always,
him at a value.
but usually the back half of the top 12.
Agreed. If you get him at a value, you can smile. That's the way it looks to me. I'm very content with him in the later rounds. Melvin Gordon, I've got some heat over it, but I have Melvin Gordon ranked higher than Ezekiel Elliott this year because of what I believe about the roster and the team. I think Gordon is an absolutely locked-in workhorse back, and then you're just picking between the very few running backs that get to do that. Love Melvin Gordon. I don't think anybody doesn't love Melvin Gordon or believe in him. So
Mike has given me grief over the years because Melvin Gordon has very poor efficiency metrics But even Mike knows that the volume that is locked in, if Melvin Gordon is as inefficient as he was last season and gets the volume he got last season, he'll be just as good as he was last season, which was great.
He was the fifth. He's 25 years old. He was the number 5 fantasy running back after a number 7 year, which is very difficult to, in the NFL. Only a handful of players do it year after year after year. There are no barriers in the way of Gordon being that guy.
Yeah, I wanted to highlight Austin Eckler was fine this past season, but
200 yards, 240.
Right. Well, and he works in the passing game. But you have that's the only threat to Melvin Gordon's work. Austin Eckler,
which is not a
and
threat.
Justin Jackson. They're not taking him off the field, and he is not losing his goal line work. Even the games when Austin Eckler was getting heavily utilized in the passing game, Melvin Gordon was still getting more targets in those particular games. So the work is locked in. Gordon.
As far as the wide receivers, Keenan Allen is a true locked and loaded wide receiver 1. His first 16 game seasons. I know he's got an injury history, but he's not injury prone. We've got a great article from Matthew Betts that was talking about
the difference between injury prone and frequently injured.
Exactly. And that's what Keenan Allen is. The real question on this team is that next wide receiver. Is Tyrell Williams actually of value? He had a great season 2 seasons ago without Keenan Allen, but Keenan Allen took a lot of the targets. Now that Hunter Henry is gone, will he step up? I believe that Tyrell Williams is the number 2, the guy you want.
That's how I lean,
I assume that was both of your answer, because I was going to ask the question, pick one, right? You pick one guy, Mike Williams, Travis Benjamin. I don't think any of us are considering him for that, really. It's Mike Williams or Tyrell Williams.
Yes.
I've been pretty vocal about my appreciation for Mike Williams, especially in the red zone, and now with Hunter Henry down, I think Mike Williams will end up with more fantasy points than Tyrell, who gets in the red zone as well. Or gets in the end zone as well, but he gets it over the top.
He gets big plays.
He gets big plays.
And the way that I'm reading the situation because Hunter Henry, he's a deep play tight end as well. And so I think Tyrell Williams picks up that slack. It's not a I want to fight about Mike Williams versus Tyrell Williams situation. But draft price and what I'm projecting, I would take Tyrell.
We talk so much about the number 2 option on great passing offenses. This is the number 1 yards per game offense through the air. So I think that there's value to be had at the wide receiver too. It's not going to just be Keenan Allen.
Right.
It's just a matter of, much like Jacksonville or Dallas or Green Bay, much more like Green Bay, I guess. Who is it, right? Do you take a shot on one of them?
Sure.
Whoever you believe the most in.
And back to Keenan Allen just real quick, because
that's exactly what Philip Rivers says on every play.
Well, he did. He definitely said that in the second half of the season. So is that what you guys you're projecting more of the second half where he rattled out, he went wide receiver 2, 4, 4, finished the final week, which is week 17, as number 1. However, before that it was spotty, and he was still a usable guy.
I definitely project him more second half last year than first half.
But was that the breakout?
Yes, I believe the connection is too strong. The success was there for them as a team. So yeah, Keenan Allen, he's going to be one of those around 150 target type players. There's not a lot of them.
Okay. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Keenan Allen proved himself in a big way last year. All right, before we move on to the rest of the divisional discussions, because I know you want to talk John Gruden. I mean, that's just
I can't
of all the storylines this year, that's the one I cannot wait to see so much.
I love you, Gruden.
But let's thank Pristine Auction for sponsoring today's podcast, longtime partner of this show. Since the beginning, Pristine Auction has been offering you incredible deals on authentic autographed sports memorabilia. Recent auction prices. Jason, pick up a Kenyon Drake signed Dolphins jersey for $61. Andy, I'm talking to you, Andy. Pick up a Corey Davis signed Titans jersey so that you, Andy, can wear it with pride. Mike?
Yeah?
Let's get Jason a little early Christmas present.
Wait, no.
A Turok Cohen signed Bears jersey, $46. And Mike, don't worry, we got you covered. You get yourself a Kareem Hunt signed Chiefs jersey, much like the one on our wall, for a mere $78 yesterday.
Yeah, we know that wasn't me because I already got this one.
That doesn't prove anything. That doesn't. I don't know what you have.
I've been
You've got
stockpiling
a war chest of Kareem Hunt jerseys, all autographed, all authentic, all the best quality. You can even have them framed on checkout.
Yep.
If you want. And Pristine Auction has been doing it and doing it right for many years. Great friends of the show. You'll want to check them out. And when you sign up for your free account to browse the daily auctions, which there are 100, let them know the Fantasy Footballer sent you. PristineAuction.com.
I will say this. I searched for Gruden on Pristine Auction. Little upset I couldn't find any John Gruden gear. I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
Selling out.
But hopefully soon I can get myself some John Gruden gear.
Man, John Gruden in autographed 8x10. Maybe a little 5x7 for your mirror in the morning, so you can look at him and get inspired.
Yeah, it belongs right next to your.
Right next to. Is that Hugh Jackson over there?
Yes.
The thing about the John Gruden picture is they have to use a dot matrix printer to get that thing out.
It's so crazy because when he took
Gotta
over
tear the sides
as
off.
a head coach, the whole thing was he's a young gun, a fresh mind. Are we to the age now? I guess we are, where it's like the young guns are now like the old curmudgeons.
We are.
Do you consider Jay Gruden a young gun?
Yeah, younger.
He's 3 years younger than John Gruden.
Yeah.
Okay.
54 years old.
In
That's
human years.
In human years. In football years.
Yeah.
John has aged. It's like Bill Cowher if he got hired now. Bill Cowher went past the point of where you still wanted him. Right?
Yeah.
Or Herm Edwards, right? Look, I'm an Arizona State University fan. I'm not excited about what's going on. Herm Edwards has found his way back into not good. All right, let's jump into let's just jump into the Raiders, the Gruden. Disappointing year.
Yes.
6-10 after a breakthrough campaign. Derek Carr had ended the previous season with an injury, came back last season, did not have the offensive line that he had the year before. Not that it was bad, but it wasn't the same, right? Like he had gone the entire season really without being touched, with plenty of time in the pocket to find Michael Crabtree and Amari Cooper and his weapons. And last year he didn't have as much time, and the offense struggled. It was a bad offense. There's no other way to put it. 25th in yards per game on the ground, 16th through the air. Just playing from behind all last season.
When you have an injured wide receiver one-ish in Amari Cooper and an injured quarterback in Derek Carr, who's talking about how he had broken bones in his back and played through a lot of injury last year, and a bad offensive line, that's a recipe for disaster. Jay Gruden's coming in, hoping to change it all. John Gruden's coming in, hoping to change it all. But some of the offseason moves that have been made are head scratchers, at least. And he described his moves. He's gotten rid of some of the people that have been here a long time, right? Michael Crabtree, and he wants hardworking, new, fresh.
New fresh might not be the right, like maybe mine.
New fresh to the franchise.
Yes.
Because he's gone out and got
Doug Martin,
old busted. He's gone out and gotten Jordy. Maybe done, but
maybe
he's 33. Yeah. So it's been surprising. I mean, would you, if you were the owner of the Raiders, would you rather have Michael Crabtree this year on your roster or Jordy Nelson? Because they cost about the same.
It's fantasy is different than reality, and I believe in the fact that you have to construct a locker room that supports the rest of your team if you're going to win. And if his diagnosis of the locker room is that you needed to bring in a leader, which I think Jordy Nelson has established himself as a locker room guy in the NFL. And if it's negligible on the field and you believe you improve the locker room, I get it. Like, I understand why you make that decision. The trade for Martavis Bryant, I get that too. That was interesting, and I think Martavis is interesting overall. There are clouds surrounding a potential, a revelation.
Clouds indeed.
Yeah, there have been clouds around Martavis in one way or another for years. Nothing has come to fruition as of now, and he's a favorite best ball pick for me.
Yeah.
I pick him late in best ball drafts all the time because Martavis, if he plays, he will have monster games. He did it in Pittsburgh, and they traded for him because they wanted him where Pittsburgh no longer wanted him. So it's interesting. Jason, one of the guys you talk about a lot as we go through the starting lineup and the fantasy options in Oakland, Jared Cook. I kind of, Crabtree and all those targets, they're gone, right? You don't really have a premier pass-catching back out of the backfield. You have Amari Cooper, who has been inconsistent, and therefore you look at Jared Cook and go, wow, that's one of the guys that has rapport with Derek Carr already.
Jared Cook is just great between the 20s. I mean, he's a first down guy. If you're in any kind of tight end premium league, either you start 2 tight ends or you get a bonus for, like the Scott Fish Bowl. We drafted him because you get a bonus for every first down and every reception over the other positions. That's where you want to take Jared Cook. The problem with Cook is he's never been a red zone guy. I think he averages 3 touchdowns per season, which for tight end is not going to get it done. So he's kind of this higher floor guy that has no ceiling. There's no walls, but he's on a plateau.
No walls, no ceiling.
He lives up on that plateau. It's a nice plateau. He's built no house on it.
He was tied for the 9th most targets at the position.
Yeah.
Quietly.
Yeah. He's just there.
Yeah.
When you're Jared Cook, you're Jared Cook.
That's true.
That's the way it goes. Let's talk about...
Send in the car. Send in the car.
Are you sending in the car? Last year he was a regression candidate. We all said it. The yardage didn't back up the fantasy production and the touchdowns. But I think it went further than we thought it would go with Derek Carr last year. Did not look like the same player. Is he a bounce-back candidate? What would you put the odds of him being a fantasy start-worthy revelation this season?
Revelation, I would put the odds very low. He's going to be a fine streaming type of candidate, but he fits right in as he's going late, but he's not the type of late-round target I want. He's going in the same round as Marcus Mariota. He's going in the same round as Alex Smith. He's going before Dak Prescott. These are guys I would rather take my late-round shot of sticking in my quarterback slot every single week over Derek Carr. And as much I was thinking about this, as much as I'm kind of poking at the Raiders, I love 2 players on this team.
Marshawn Lynch and Amari Cooper.
Yes, I love them. I have Amari locked in as a wide receiver 1. I feel like I've been a griefer of Amari Cooper over his career of just giving you a couple huge games, still finishing very high, but not being a player you wanted on your fantasy team.
That's because when you take the Polaroid of the top 12 wide receivers before the season,
John Gruden he slays it with a Polaroid camera.
He is. He's good at that. You take the Polaroid of your top 12 every year, Back to the Future style, right. And then when you shake it and you wait till later in the season, Amari's picture always fades out.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
Yeah.
He's always fading out of that because every year we say the same things. I went back and looked at some of the articles last year. I had my 32 bold prediction article, right? One of the predictions, Amari will arrive.
Oh,
he arrived in one game, Kansas City.
See,
it was impressive. He showed top speed.
Which, if you recall, we had to record early. We had to record our show early the day before that game, and I went Nostradamus.
Yes, you did.
On Amari Cooper having a big game, just tongue-in-cheek, I was throwing it out there. But wide receiver 1s for John Gruden, they put up 1,000 yards. I love Amari Cooper. He's not overpriced in this year's fantasy draft. And Marshawn Lynch, my goodness, I don't know what I am seeing in Marshawn Lynch that other people are not, where he's going 7th, 8th round, and it's going to give you running back 2.
I think it's the wrong birth certificate. I think you've pulled the wrong one out, and that's what you're seeing differently. No, he'll be fine.
He was fine this past year.
He was very good. His efficiency was
he was 4.3 a carry. He was still beast mode. He got the Kareem Hunt treatment very frequently.
But that might be how you get 5.3 or 4.3 from Marshawn.
No, 207 carries.
Yes. I'm saying the way you get that from this age of Marshawn might be 200 carries.
But what I mean by the Kareem Hunt treatment is it's a random spattering of games where they just weren't giving him the ball. And I don't, off the top of my head, I don't know if it was game script, they were trailing, so they had to go.
He was the 20th
heavy.
Ranked fantasy running back last year.
Right, and he's going way later than that.
In the first half of last year, he was basically, I feel like he was so underutilized it was criminal. The second half of last year got much better, but the issue.
So Greg Olson gets you going there. Greg Olson, the offensive coordinator, just gets you.
Greg Olson is my number one issue with the Raiders. I just don't think he is a good offensive coordinator. And the issue.
Brian Schottenheimer or Greg Olson?
Oh, man.
Give me Schottenheimer.
Oh.
Seriously.
I don't know who I take.
I mean,
Other.
Yeah.
Just in Marshawn Lynch was a running back 1 or 2 60% of the time.
Yeah, he's good. But
in the Clinton Portis vein.
The
in
issue
the 10 points
is look, I believe Doug Martin is busted.
Right.
I think he is not good. But they just paid to have him come in, and I think they're going to give him work. I think he's going to carry the ball 10 times a game. And if he does get 10 carries a game, then Marshawn Lynch can't do enough. I mean, maybe if you're getting him in the 8th round, he's going to
97 rushing yards per game on the season last year. They'll have to improve that for Marshawn to be in that upper echelon. Last question for the Raiders. I'm going to pose it to both of you. I want to know the fantasy ceiling and floor of wide receiver Jordy Nelson.
Oh, the floor is wide receiver 80.
Yeah, the floor is a sinister villain pulled the lever.
Yeah,
and it opens up, and Jordy Nelson falls into a pit of sharks. That's the floor,
right?
The ceiling,
or lack of a floor.
Yeah, exactly. The ceiling, and I had just mentioned this to Jason. Well, okay, there's a world where Jordy Nelson is in fact washed, but Derek Carr leans so heavily on Michael Crabtree in the red zone.
And that's where Jordy is good.
Does Jordy Nelson somehow end up with 500 yards but 8 touchdowns?
Yes, it's possible.
It is absolutely possible. I think he could end up being a wide receiver too. Is his upper
ceiling?
Ceiling is the word I was looking for.
The upper floor.
One thing that's important
right above
to
your
know
head.
is
the old upper floor.
Jordy was still above average in his game speed. So that's an argument in his favor that he hasn't slowed down.
Above his own average or above
the NFL average. Whereas we're about to talk about a different team with an older fella who is really dropping in his game speed.
Ooh, I'm excited to talk about it, so let's talk about it.
Broncos.
Oh, the Broncos. 5-11 last year, and yet a team that is not far removed from, I think, competing in a big way. It's the quarterback position. That was the problem last season. They were 20th in the league in passing yards per game, just 208 passing yards per game. Still one of the best defenses in football. 4th against the pass, 5th against the rush in yards given up. This was a team that struggled on offense. And Case Keenum, to some people, he's the right medicine. To other people, the bottle's empty, and they don't believe.
They're going to need more than a single spoonful of sugar
to bring that medicine. Yeah, look, there are a lot of interesting fantasy dilemmas on the Denver Broncos, starting with Case Keenum and his impact on not only Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders, but rookies Cortland Sutton, who we did have the opportunity to speak with at NFFC, and Deshaun Hamilton, a player that Mike loves, a player that is very talented and has shown well in OTAs so far. You also have Devontae Booker, Royce Freeman, and company in the backfield, which, their head coach has come out and said, well, it's going to be 2 to 3 main guys.
I love it. Who's that third guy? Who's the third?
1A, 1B, 1C, Mike. They're all ranked number 1.
Uh-huh.
They're all ranked number 1. So, what stands out to you as kind of your main focus on this roster? Is it Case Keenum, or is it Jason? What were you talking about with the wide receivers?
My main focus is Demaryius Thomas. Demaryius Thomas is a guy that I've really loved over the last few years because he has gotten to the age where you could get him at a good value, and his targets are going to be there. He was a player with what did he have 6 seasons in a row over 1,000 yards, and he's a big-bodied guy, so he can be great in the red zone. And I have worries with Demaryius Thomas more and more as the season gets closer. He was the player that was below average on game speed. He has lost a step. He's coming into his age 31 season. He had the lowest targets, the lowest receptions, the lowest yards per reception of the last 6-7 years of his career. Now, some of that
Lowest
obviously,
quarterback rating.
absolutely
Throwing to him.
His quarterbacks were terrible, but we have seen him before succeed with Simeon, seen him before succeed with Osweiler. I think he has lost a step. So for me, that's where when I'm on the clock and I'm going, man, Demaryius Thomas or Juju, because they're going right around each other, and usually I go with the volume number one wide receiver, I worry that we could see, like, put it this way, Demaryius Thomas has always, to me, had a super high floor, always. I think his floor is a big disappointment this year if it's just the beginning of the end, which happens to all players.
It's not impossible, and I say that mostly because his target totals were similar to the year prior, but his production
His production
was about the
yes,
same.
It's about the same. I don't disagree with the fact that Demaryius Thomas is aging, and I think he has lost a step.
I think we're all aging. At this point.
Yeah, every single day I'm older. What I like about Demaryius Thomas, Harmon breaks him down in the reception perception of the ultimate draft kit, and he mentions this in his write-up of Demaryius Thomas, of saying we have seen a shift in the way that Demaryius Thomas plays football. However, he is turning into a good possession receiver. The days of high-flying Demaryius Thomas are gone, but the days of him still being an incredibly solid wide receiver too are here. He had, of the players that Harmon charted, he had the second best success rate at contested targets. He's still a beast. He still will get the ball away from the defender. He just needed someone who isn't a 70-point passer rating type of quarterback.
I'm going to go ahead and use the worst analogy I've attempted on the show. My daughter, at this point in her, like, we travel for these live shows from time to time. I always bring her home a stuffed animal at the from the airport, something from the city. Brought home a moose, a really pretty pink moose from Minneapolis. It's her absolute favorite. She brings it with her everywhere. She cuddles with it. It's her number one. Demaryius is the coziest number two I could possibly have.
So
Demaryius Thomas
is
is not
moose?
No, he's not the moose. The pink moose is that number one that you bring with you everywhere, and that's your Antonio Brown or Julio or whoever it is. I'm just saying, he is. There's nobody I feel more comfortable with as my wide receiver two than Demaryius. I don't want him to. He's not a pink moose, is what I'm saying. He won't be a pink moose again.
Okay.
His pink moose days are long gone. They went with Peyton Manning, and then he's 30 now.
So Demaryius Thomas is not.
He's the backup.
What your analogy is?
You nailed it, Andy.
What are you talking about?
That was the worst analogy. I mean, I'm trying.
He's your best. He's the second best.
So, but we didn't hear a second best in the
what
story.
I'm saying,
He's just saying. No, he's just saying
Look,
he's not the pink moose.
Right. Okay.
he's not, but he's still very cozy. He's the coziest number two stuffed animal you could possibly
Sure. Nailed it. All right. I would so.
I did preface that properly.
Yes, you did.
Hey,
you nailed it.
Brooks, agreed?
You came through.
Thank you.
Yeah. Good job.
He's not the pink moose. Don't you understand?
Yeah. No. I totally get it now. Emmanuel Sanders is
About a pink moose.
Is
No, he's not
the
a pink
wide
moose either.
receiver that I want from this team.
That's fair because he's
think
cheaper, right?
He is 3 rounds cheaper. Usually he's 1 round cheaper, but because he was dealing with high ankle sprains last year and all the issues with injury, even though he only missed a couple games, he was very injured all last season. We've had some insider information that usually Emmanuel Sanders is loud and boisterous and he's a character and he's just quiet, going about his business, wanting to get paid again, and he's working hard. They could finish. If Emmanuel Sanders finishes ahead of Demaryius Thomas this year, I'm not going to be surprised in the slightest. I think they will, in fact, finish near each other. And Emmanuel Sanders, I can get 3 rounds later and, pair with Larry Fitzgerald, who's, I can get in the beginning of the 4th.
Yeah. No, it's not a bad point. And unlike Thielen and Diggs, this is a group of a couple veterans. Now, Thielen's a pink moose to me.
Ooh.
That's all I'm saying.
Heck yeah.
And I think in terms of the Denver Broncos, both Thomas and Sanders are playing for new contracts from other teams.
Yes.
And that does not mean, as much as I like Cortland Sutton and Deshaun Hamilton, this is a future play. I don't see a clear path at all for either of those wide receivers to really make a big fantasy impact. So these former Pink Mooses, they're hoping they don't hit the donate pile.
Yeah, I agree. at running back, I truly, fully, 100% believe that Royce Freeman will take over a voluminous job.
Voluminous?
Is that a word?
No.
Voluminous?
Voluminous? Is
It's-
that how you say that?
I'm confused.
All right.
Voluminous.
A word.
Well, that's par for the course. I think he will
Volumerific.
end up as a guy who's he's going to be the lead guy there. I don't think Devontae Booker is a talented running back. We've seen him on the field enough to know what he is, and what he is a serviceable backup.
So you're not buying into what we alluded to earlier.
No.
there.
No, I'm not.
Where I have three main featured running backs.
Well, here's the thing. I'm not saying that Freeman. I'm not saying that he's going to be a Melvin Gordon. I'm not saying that he's going to be used in a way where he is a true 3-down workhorse and the backups are irrelevant. But I think when it comes time for this committee, it's going to be heavily in the favor of Freeman sooner rather than later.
We are going to talk to Melvin Gordon momentarily. I want to remind you, if you want to take your knowledge that you've acquired over this offseason and give it a run, see what we think of it, go to draft.thefantasyfootballers.com. You can mock draft there. You can simulate a draft from any position, and then we'll grade you. We'll give you a grade based on our current rankings, which, by the way,
individual grades.
Yeah, we'll individually
I grade
grade
it,
you.
Andy grades it. Mike grades it.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
It's pretty fun. It's free. It's just something you can check out at draft.thefantasyfootballers.com. You can also, there's a link on thefantasyfootballers.com. We'll give you a draft grade. It's great. Let's talk to Melvin Gordon.
You talking to me?
All right, Melvin. What I love to hear from players is the draft day story, right? I mean, this is a moment you've worked your entire life for. Take me a couple days back, just leading up to it, and the who were you with, the experience of, and how it all felt.
I was just with my family. I was just excited to. I mean, I went to school in Wisconsin, born in Wisconsin, went to college in Wisconsin, and the Green Bay actually sat me down and told me that they would have loved to have me, but they don't think I'll fall that far. So I knew my odds of playing in Wisconsin was low. So I knew I'd be at a different home for the first time in my life. So I was just excited to know where I was going to be at. A change of everything, a change of scenery, change everything. So I was just excited to know and anxious and just with my family. And then when the day came, I was actually debating, because it was in Chicago, so I was actually debating on not going to the draft and staying home so everybody could be a part of it. But I was just like, you only get drafted once, and you only be able to walk the stage once, so you don't want to regret it. So I went there, and it was the thrill actually got took away from me. Somebody called me, and I was pissed. Oh, they spoiled the moment for me. Like the moment where you get the nerves, because as soon as the draft started, I got a call from a Florida number. Obviously, Tampa was the first, the number, and then you had Jacksonville like 3 or something. So I seen a Florida number. I was like, oh, snap. Like, as soon as the draft started, they were like, the draft opened, the Florida number called. Like, right. So I'm like, I can't be going first pick. I was like, I know Jameis is going, but like my nerves is just like, and then someone was like, yeah, you have a nice suit. I'm watching you on TV. I was pissed. It stole my whole moment from me. So, but I still was excited when I got the call. But, as far as the nerves and the slow motion going on, they kind of stole that from me.
Oh, it's a great story. So, speaking on a personal goal level, we were able to talk to David Johnson, and he is quick to say, 1,000. That's my goal. So this offseason, we know guys want to walk the team line, but we also know we're all human. We're all setting those personal goals for ourselves. Do you have one that you're going after this year?
Yeah, I want to be the best running back. That's it. I obviously got my my team goals, and obviously Super Bowl and, just getting to the playoffs. I'm not even worried about the Super Bowl right now. Right now I want to get to the playoffs. That's just my goal. I haven't been there yet. I know we got the team, we got the guys to where, we get in the playoffs is going to get, we just got that type of team. I know we're going to make something happen. So right now I'm not even worried about the Super Bowl as a goal. I just want to get to the playoffs and then go from there. But at the end of the day, I want to be the best running back. I want that rushing title. I want to start getting some respect. I don't feel like, I got none. And quite frankly, I'm tired of hearing about guys keeping me out of their top 10, like just getting overlooked. I don't really appreciate it because I know I'm better than most of the guys they talking about. So, it is what it is. I haven't been really able to prove that, just being hurt and things like that. But I know what type of back I am. So I just want to be the best because obviously we got a lot of great backs. So if you come out number one, ain't too much that people can say.
I will say you get a lot of respect in the fantasy football community.
Yeah. Y'all show me love, man. So I do get love from y'all, man. So that's what's up. I have to do what I need to do. My first year, I let some people down, So I got a lot of making up to do.
Well, it was a great year last year. And are you doing anything different this offseason? Because what fantasy football players love from Melvin Gordon. That 3-down skill set, man. We love running backs that catch the ball, guys who are on the field all the time. Has the coaching staff given you any inclination of that changing? Do they intend to, Gordon, you're the guy, we'll spell you every once in a while? Do you know what the game plan is?
Nah, I mean, I'm pretty sure that, we got Austin, he could do, he's really good in the passing game as well, but, I've shown that I can do it, and if I'm hot, I think that's what Coach Lynn goes with. He goes with the hot hand, and, it's not like it's like I need to be taken out because I can't do it. I can do it, and I actually hate being taken out of the game, to be honest, unless I'm tired or something like that. So, I've always been like that. I've been like that at Wisconsin. They just kept me in there. You like to be in there in every down situation because I feel like I'm an every down back. So, I don't think they're changing anything. If anything, they're trying to, get us more, involved in the passing game. So that's a good thing for y'all.
I'll get you out of here on this one. Does Phillip Rivers know how often his facial reactions are used as GIFs and sending across Twitter? It's Rivers. It has all the range of emotions, and is he that crazy in real life?
He's actually a really cool person. He's real chill. He brings a lot of energy to the game. That's just who he is. He's actually one of my favorite players on game day just because the energy he brings to the game. It's one of my favorite because you feed off that. This football, this game is all about energy and all about good energy, and he's the best to bring it. So, I appreciate him for that, man. But he's,
Fiery.
Man, he don't have social media, so he don't.
So he doesn't.
So he don't really know unless someone run it across him, So unless someone do that, he don't know. Unless his kids or something probably run it across him. But Phil don't have any social media. I've never seen him on Twitter, Instagram. He don't have anything. So I don't think he do. But we used to play like a little pool game, and you could send gifts. So we used to send them of him all the time. So.
The personal favorite is when he's taking that huge deep breath. I'm sure you use that one.
Yes, sir.
Really appreciate your time, man. Best of luck this year.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
All right, that was fun. Fun to talk to Melvin Gordon. Fun to be dwarfed by him in size and stature and ability.
He's a superhero.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, it's good. He's one of my favorite players this year. He's one of my flag planters from the top tier guys that I just firmly believe in him. I know you guys understand and respect his opportunity to be a force.
And I like, during the interview, I mean, talking to players, it's hard to get things out of them. They're trained for PR. But when you heard it.
Yeah.
He was getting heated. He feels like
he wants respect.
Amongst the NFL, he feels that he gets disrespected.
All right, without further ado, we're going to give you another best ball tip. Because it's Saturday, guys, which means it's time for
Best Ball Bonanza, brought to you by Draft.
Yeah, I had it too. All right, what do we want to focus on today? A quick best ball tip. You can play at draft.com/ballers. Best ball is one of the best ways to, experience the offseason. Draft after draft after draft. So what do you think? What's a best ball strategy?
We're keeping this one in the West.
Oh, Talking about handcuffs.
What do you do with handcuffs? Andy.
What do you do with handcuffs?
I'll jump in here. I wanted to talk about this because I'm asked, okay, I'm doing some new best ball drafts. I'm new to the format. Should I be grabbing my handcuffs towards the end of the draft? And for me, it's a no. Best ball is all about maximum points, maximizing everything. You're going for ceiling. And if you are just trying to tread water by, let's say you have your star running back goes down and you're hoping that the backup will give you a fraction of the points, you're done. I mean, your team is already toast. It doesn't matter. But if you're able to have your stud running back keep going, and then then out of nowhere, halfway through the league, you have what is perceived to be a handcuff from a different team take a starting job, then you have just taken that upper floor, aka the ceiling, and you're now living in a skyscraper because
right.
the amount of points you can put up on a weekly basis has taken that tier jump. So I do not draft my own handcuffs. I draft your handcuffs.
I like drafting handcuffs with those last few picks and other people's handcuffs, but I will say that there is a certain strategy where I do lock up a backfield.
Really?
Yes. And honestly, when I'm doing best ball on draft, I usually implement a very early running back heavy approach. I might go 3 running backs, 4 running backs to start because those just go away so much, and I want more wide receivers on my roster than I want running backs. And if I do that, let's say I've got a David Johnson or a Todd Gurley, and the other guy, I've got one of those guys, and I've got Melvin Gordon, and I've got Freeman, or some, if the draft falls to me where I'm loaded, that's where I will take only the guys that I'm sure are the handcuff, which to me would be John Kelly, Chase Edmonds.
What about a situation like Alex Collins, though, and Kenneth Dixon? Do you invest in guys that are multiple middle to late tier to know that you have Baltimore's running game?
No, that's where I think I lean more towards Mike's. If I'm taking my middle tier shot at Alex Collins, then I want him to hit. I'm going to take a shot somewhere else. Because
you could muddy your roster down with 3 options. You could draft, if you're going
and that's what I don't want to do.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to say. If you end up with Montgomery, Jones, and Williams, and they all share the whole year, you've wasted those picks.
So are you sure that it's John Kelly? Malcolm Brown?
No, I'm not sure of that. I brought that up before. Malcolm Brown, they're big fans of him.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Okay,
but that's only because of my belief in John Kelly. That's not everyone is sure. But I would say that everyone is sure Chase Edmonds is the best.
Yes, Chase Edmonds is a great last-round pick or second-to-last-round pick. I believe he turns into a 3-down running back if something happened to David Johnson.
And then, of course, if there are it gives a bump to the pseudo-handcuffs like Latavius Murray, Tevin Coleman.
Right.
Those guys who they could score week in, week out, but also could have the opportunity to become a beast.
All right, hopefully you enjoyed today's episode. The AFC West will be tackling the NFC West on Tuesday. And we'll also have Jarek McKinnon joining us for an exclusive interview at the end of that show. I'm excited for Tuesday. I'm excited for the Philly and New York shows next week. Get your tickets at ballerslive.com before they are gone. If you are within, 1,000, 2,000 miles from Philly or New York?
3,000.
We expect to see you there.
If you're not, I completely understand.
They're inventing new forms of plane travel now that just 5 times the speed of light.
You got
wow.
I mean the speed
Holy
of sound.
Moly. We're getting places quick.
Well,
5 times the speed of light. You can get there from another galaxy is all I'm saying.
We guarantee you will arrive at your destination.
Not in one piece.
Completely vaporized. You are stardust.
You can't go 5 times the speed of light, Mike.
I'm aware of that.
Chris Johnson did it once.
Yes,
one time.
He certainly did.
All right, that is it for today's episode. Thank you very much for joining the Fantasy Footballers, subscribing, reviewing the show, supporting the show. We appreciate you. We appreciate the Foot Clan at jointhefoot.com, and check out draft.com/ballers for the best ball. Goodbye.
See you next week. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.